There's no more vulnerable time than when someone is getting plastic surgery when one partner bettered themselves. The partner who was supposed to be the closest to them would often be the one who sabotaged them, because the worst thing is for a partner to go through it alone without the support of the person who loves them most.
Welcome to Beauty Unveiled. I'm Dr. Angela Sturm, and today I have with me Miss Mary Jo Rapini. And I'm so excited because you're honestly one of the most interesting people I talk to just in life. And so I'm just really excited for you to be with us. And you're so accomplished. You know, you've authored 3 books. You're a national speaker, probably international things. I don't
Well,
know.
thank
Talk
you.
about relationships and sex and how we can love ourselves and love our partner. And you've been on TV. I didn't realize how many places you've been on TV. So Fox, CNN, CBS, Montel, Steve Harvey, all these things. I had no idea. That's so fun.
All these exciting people and just different perspectives, and I think it's something we need right now. We have a tendency to settle into a relationship and get, just start feeling like we're trapped, like it's a box, like this is how it's always going to be. And that's a wonderful thing about relationships. It's never static.
Yeah. Then and you talk to these people that are married for like 50 years and
Mhm.
you ask them how and they're like, "Well, we just decided and we changed and we grew together." So I don't know, how do you think people stay together for that long?
Wow. And that, I love that question because it's a very simple one. When the person you stay with is someone you've committed to. When you get married to someone, you're not, it has very little to do with the other person. It's mostly a commitment you're making to yourself, that you're putting yourself out there to be a growing person. Like you're going to keep growing, you're going to keep evolving and trying to be what you consider a better partner for the relationship. So I get out of the habit of telling people they have to change for each other. The
Hmm.
reason you change is really for the vibrance of the relationship.
I love that. I haven't ever heard anyone say that, but it totally makes sense. It's like you're making that commitment for you and you to be better and a better partner. And I feel like people don't think about that going in. They're thinking
Yeah,
about what can you
right.
do for me?
Like, yeah, we all want our partner to change. Like, we find these annoying things and we're like, why can't you get it? Why can't you change? And the truth is, when we make changes, then everything changes. So
Yeah.
when I find an annoying spot with my own marriage, I try to go rather than I could blame him, right? But I try to refrain from that and say, what can I do different right now that is going to help this annoyance go away? And sometimes it's as simple as I'm just going to accept it. This is
Yeah.
who he is, and
Yeah.
I've got to find a way to kind of detach from that annoying factor and focus on something else.
Yeah. Because, they are who they are to a certain degree.
It's so true. And how they are, I mean, basically, when you get married, I think something really important that I've learned along the way is just to understand you are, in a sense, marrying the person that's going to heal you, or you're choosing this person because you think this person has the components to help you resolve some past childhood stuff
Hmm.
that went unresolved.
Yeah. Yeah. And people choose this without realizing that's what they're doing, obviously. Is
Yeah.
that something you do, is talk people through that of like, okay, what is it that you're trying to fix and what are we doing here? you
Yeah.
know?
Well, and it's interesting because you hit on something. You said we choose this person without really thinking about it, without really ever even entertaining that. But part of us must have entertained it because
Yeah.
in first marriages especially, they find that the IQ point between the two partners is within 5 points. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
for you to be able to marry someone that is that close to you as far as your your intelligence, it shows that there were other factors playing that you were totally oblivious to.
Mm-hmm.
So when couples come in and they're having an issue, when I can peel away all the certainties of the issue, then usually it's easier to get to the point of why was that hurtful for you? And then many
Mm-hmm.
times you'll go back and you'll say, well, I remember as a kid, I always felt overlooked, or I never felt, fully sure or trusted with my decision, or my parents overlooked a lot of my feelings. And
Mm-hmm.
when my partner did this, it just took me back to that time where
Right.
once again my feelings were dismissed. They weren't prioritized or taken seriously. So I find myself still feeling like this hurt, broken child.
Yeah. It's it's funny because I with social media, you're hearing these things and thinking about it more. And I feel like sometimes that's what I see is when I see somebody and they're mad or upset, like I see like that child, that person, and I'm like, oh
Right.
gosh.
Mm-hmm.
No, I had a patient that was that way, and he was telling me how upset he was about something his wife did. And I was like, man, I saw like that hurt kid, that was like,
Right.
look at me.
Right. And because you're a plastic surgeon, I'm sure you run into this a lot because there's no more vulnerable time than when someone is getting plastic surgery and after that period
Hmm.
shortly after, like the first to third month, I think, when there's
Hmm.
still bruising and unsureness. I think the way their partner deals with them, or the special people in their life,
Right.
that can be something that makes them heal better, feel better, or it can be something that just totally tears them apart and just,
Yeah.
makes them feel unsure and puts them in a spiral of not being able to really feel good about what they did.
It is. It's just that's one of those make or break things. If your partner is on board, it's
Hmm.
amazing. It goes
Right.
smooth. Even if, there's bumps in the road, if it takes a little bit longer, everybody's okay, but man, you could have a perfect result. And if at home they're hearing, why did you do that? And why did you spend this money? And I don't tell any difference. And, like
Hmm.
it's just a hill I just can't climb. I have a hard time getting past that. And you can show them pictures and you're like, you look amazing,
Yes.
but it's just that support that they don't have at home that gets in the,
Hmm.
because you're going to have those insecurities of like, oh, I did this and now I feel worse. And, you get better.
Right. Well,
So,
and we know from just literature that when the partner is supportive, even if that's a silent support, like they pick
mm-hmm,
up more of their share of the invisible load, they're
mm-hmm,
doing more at home, they're giving their partner time to heal, time
mm-hmm,
to rest, because those things are all really important after plastic surgery, then I think in that sense, they're helping their partner and their partner feels that support.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So most of the time and I'm sure you see this, and I certainly have with couples, when their partner is resistant to them doing something that they've always felt bad about ever since they were a little kid, it's
mm-hmm.
because it makes them feel less secure. Like,
Yeah.
will this person still want me?
Right.
They're changing such a fundamental part. Will they still desire and want me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's such a lot of times like a big part of their story of who they are in their head, and
Hmm.
is this going to be the same? Is this going to change? Is this, you know, what does that mean?
Yes. For relationships, I've seen that. And then I used to work a lot with obesity. And
Mm-hmm.
when one partner bettered themselves, or, finally said, I've had enough, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
get something done, the partner who was supposed to be the closest to them would often be the one who sabotaged them, or who
Oh.
who is so insecure with
Mm-hmm.
their own position that they ended up projecting that onto the patient. So I think I'm talking to couples all the time, and I'm like, make sure you know each other, why you're responding the way you are before you get anything done, so that you
Hmm.
can be supportive. Because the worst thing is for a partner to go through it alone without the support of the person who loves them most.
Right. Is they're already feeling insecure and then they're alone, or like you said, they're sabotaging the
Right,
situation because that's
right.
changes their dynamic. Have you
Hmm.
had a couple that was in that situation and you were able to help them like see what was going on and kind of turn it
Oh yeah.
around?
I mean, and this is very typical. Sometimes when you have a partner, when you have a partnership and one of the partners, something physical about them really bothers them. And so they decide they're going to get changed. I think what it does to the partner going through it, if they're stable and confident in who they are, they will automatically reach out and embrace them and say, listen, I love you the way you are, but
Hmm.
if this is going to change how you feel that you can love yourself better,
Hmm.
then by all means do it.
Hmm.
Then basically that person is extending their support and love. Whereas if it's the opposite way, if the partner who is not doing anything has their own internal shame, they
Hmm.
will react to that and they'll be against the partner going through, trying to improve themselves. And I've had that scenario happen
Hmm.
where actually after the surgery to lose weight, the partner who didn't do anything
Hmm.
basically started turning away from his partner who was losing weight. Like he
Uh-huh.
started withholding intimacy and sex. And this is a real issue because they're not withholding it for the reasons the partner thinks that they
Hmm.
don't like the way they look. It's what their new look represents, what it
Hmm.
brings up or triggers in the partner who is now decided they're going to withhold all affection because because of their partner's move to improve themselves.
Does it is it kind of like a power thing a little bit of like I can control this, I
Yes,
can't
this
control
is
you, but I can control this.
yes, and what's really hopeful is you can work with it in therapy. Like when I had the couple in, once I could take the blinders off the
Hmm.
partner who is
Hmm.
withholding intimacy and sex, and I was able to empathize and validate his own insecurities, how
Yeah.
he felt about himself, and then give him tools that he could use to better himself, even if it wasn't surgery, then the
Hmm.
more he started doing those things and feeling better about himself, the more excited he was for for his partner who
Yeah.
actually was losing weight and getting healthier.
Hmm.
Because when you're in a relationship with someone for a long time, you can get like little kids. And there's those couples who compete with each other. You've probably been out with
Yeah.
them, like they try to one up each
Yeah.
other, like with their grandparenting skills and all their skills. Well, I did that better. Well, I'm the favorite in this. And it's like, hey, you guys are supposed to be on the same team.
I know.
You're
I
supposed to
know.
be advocating for each other. But
Right.
we get silly sometimes when we've been
Hmm.
together a long time. So
Yeah. The blinders, that's a good term. That makes a lot of sense
mhm.
to me of like you're just doing this, but you're not really thinking about it.
Right.
And
You're reacting as a default. And whenever you do something as a default, you're using the oldest, most archaic part of your brain, the amygdala. It's just a response. So you've got to get out of that reptile-like thinking and say, you know what, I've been looking at this, feeling ashamed of myself
Hmm.
and the way I look. And so when you started wanting to look better, to be healthier, I
Hmm.
automatically responded with fear. And once they can get over that so that they don't take it as an insult to admit
Hmm.
their fear, because I think that's the other thing. We have such a hard time being vulnerable and
Yeah.
saying, I felt fearful, or I felt ashamed or scared. I've never really talked to you about, my own feelings about my own body. And
Hmm.
I was just glad you loved me the way I was. I'm
Yeah.
flawed. And when I see you now deciding to change, it forces me to look at all these feelings that I had about myself so long
Hmm.
ago.
And especially men, like we don't allow them to express emotions, and
So true. So
I
true.
don't even know.
And they put all their emphasis on men more than women, really rely on women for their emotional component.
Hmm.
So if they're not able to talk to their wife or their spouse, it's very difficult for them to be honest about who they are.
Yeah. Is that part of like how we teach boys when they're growing up, is like that's who you can rely on, or how, is it more that it's okay that a woman is emotional, or like why is it that they lean on women for that?
It's a really good question. I think for guys, if you look at their men, like their other men relationships, there is a natural competitiveness. Like
Hmm.
very rarely do they just sit around and be vulnerable. Or,
Hmm.
they're playing basketball or they're shooting hoops or they're going for a run. They're not talking about their weaknesses or how they felt so sad. Their brains just don't work like that.
Hmm.
But so when, but yet men understand, other men understand this emotional factor with a guy and his girlfriend or his wife. And so they respect that. So because
Hmm.
of that, I think men get the support that it's okay for me to be vulnerable with her.
Yeah.
But I have to just kind of stuff it in when I go about my business. And now I hear a lot of my male clients telling me that, their girlfriends or their wives oftentimes don't like it when they're vulnerable or they
Mm.
appear weaker. Men call it weaker when they're emotional.
Mm.
That the wife will often say, you got to get it together. Like you got to
Oh,
buck up. And because they're kind of uncomfortable with it.
uh-huh. So that's not helping, not helping the
That's not
situation at all.
helping. That's not helping. And Dr. Sturm, I see that you have a pretty large, like you do plastic surgery with men and women.
Hmm.
So you do both.
Yeah. And it's funny what you say, because I've always felt like there's this teaching, like, I don't know, it was in the 70s they wrote this book about male rhinoplasty patients and them being
Hmm.
extremely difficult and dangerous. And but I've always felt like, well, that was written from a male perspective at a time that rhinoplasty was maybe not the greatest. We were learning a lot, and there is a whole different interaction between me and my male patients than there was my mentor and their patients,
Hmm.
because of the gender difference.
Right.
And I feel like they feel better, and you tell me because you know like the background of it, but it seems like it's a safer space to be worried or be concerned, or I'm okay but I'm afraid like it's not going to fall off, or
Yeah. Yeah.
because
No,
they're not
I
going to say
bet.
that to a guy.
Yeah. I bet that's really true. Like they can be more vulnerable when they're talking to a woman physician because there's an element that women encourage that whereas
Hmm.
guys don't. Guys talk to other guys like authority. And
Hmm.
I think if men are worried about their surgeon, many times they'll talk to their wife about what they're worried about, and then she will translate to the
Hmm.
surgeon. It
Yeah.
always it seems to cross gender like that.
Yeah.
Whereas it would be so much easier if the male patient could just say to a male plastic surgeon, I'm feeling nervous, I'm feeling
Yeah.
concerned, like I'm
Yeah.
worried, or
Right.
whatever it is. But, I've noticed in therapy, talking to men, I have to be careful. I can't say, so you felt afraid? No, I
Right.
didn't feel, I was
Right.
nervous,
Yeah.
even the word anxiety men
Yeah.
shy away from. I don't think that makes them, I don't think that fits in with their repertoire of what being a man means.
Right. Yeah. It feels like a women can do that,
Right.
but not me. I'm supposed to be strong, and I'm supposed to be. And the
Hmm.
problem with the male surgeon, male patient is we take it very personal too. Like, that is my
Mhm.
work. I worked very hard on that. I want you to be happy so much. And then if you're like, oh, I'm worried about whatever, like, I have to know it's not personal about me at all. It
Right.
feels like it, but
Mhm.
they're worried, and so it's easier for me to come to that conversation like, none of this is personal. Like, tell me everything, tell me what you
Mhm.
feel. But coming in, if you're not feeling that way, it can feel like, oh, you didn't like my work, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then that
right.
is a very bad place for the conversation.
Exactly, because I think what we have to just reiterate for anyone undergoing any plastic surgery is this is about you, about
Hmm.
like the patient
The
more than
patient.
anything and how
Yes.
you feel. And the more on board your physician is, your plastic surgeon, with what you're feeling, the
Hmm.
better result you're going to have.
Hmm.
So I think that can be difficult for men sometimes, but men are not typically consumers of plastic surgery or like psychotherapy. They
Right.
don't say, "Man, I'm really having a hard time getting over this. I'm going to call a therapist."
Right.
In marriage they will if it involves their sex life, but
Hmm.
otherwise they're not going to.
So is
So
that when you see the man bring the couple to therapies, when he's like, no, this is
yes, when it's any, and this is one of the reasons that I started doing sex therapy is because I could do marriage therapy, but usually it was women led and the
Mhm.
woman would bring the guy in. When you do
Mhm.
sex therapy, it's a little bit different. He's usually leading the way. And
Yeah.
he knows that if he doesn't get that part of the relationship right, that he his biggest fear is if I don't figure this out, the marriage will fall apart.
Hmm.
Whereas that's not, I mean, I understand why he feels that way, but the real problem with keeping a marriage together is the two of you need to be emotionally intimate. For
Hmm.
men, the sex may come first and then the intimacy or the vulnerability. For
Hmm.
women, it's just the opposite.
Hmm.
So, and that makes sense because women, when they have a relationship, no matter who it, even if the woman is the main breadwinner and everything else, she
Yeah.
still has the most to lose. And that's
Right.
mostly due to her ability to reproduce.
Right.
And, so she has to be extra careful because anybody that they decide to co-create, it's probably going to be with her for the
Right.
rest of her life. I mean,
Right.
I know single dads, but overall, the majority, it's going to be the woman.
Right. And even in the relationship, you're always the mom. You're always going to be the mom.
Always the mom. Yes, no matter what.
They're
I
like,
think,
walk over dad to get to
yeah,
mom. And you're
yeah.
like, he's right there.
And in the middle of the night, whenever a
Yeah.
child is fearful or anything else, it's going to
Yeah.
be mom.
Yeah. It's
So,
like, mom.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. And so women have to be very careful. And I
Hmm.
think in even explaining relationships, women, when you see women and men and on dating profiles, men will say, well, women are so picky, or they'll talk, husbands will say, my wife is so picky. She has to be.
Right.
In a way, that's a compliment to you. She chose
Right.
you,
She
you
chose
know?
you. Exactly.
Yeah,
That means
but
something.
it is like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we have that burden, no matter, burden not in a bad way, but no
Yes.
matter what,
Hmm.
that's what's
Yeah.
going to happen. Oh.
One thing I did want to talk about a little is why the increase in plastic surgery after a divorce or after a breakup in an affair. There
Mhm.
seems to be much more of a motivation for women at that time to go and get
Mhm.
jobs done, like a facelift or, a jaw lift or a brow
Mhm.
lift after a breakup. And I'm so curious when I talk to couples
Mhm.
about, and just people in general, why did they wait to do that?
Yeah. Right.
because it seems to make sense to me. If this is an area that you feel bad about, or you
Mm-hmm.
notice it and you go, oh my gosh, I just can't stand it,
Yeah.
why you wouldn't do that for yourself when you're married. Like,
Right.
what is the rhetoric you're telling yourself? That you're not worthy, or that it doesn't bother your partner and therefore you're not going to do that? And if that's the case, I just want to encourage you that you are really worth it. You are
Yeah.
worthwhile, and whatever makes you feel bad about yourself when you're with your partner, it's okay to handle it while you're with your partner
Mm-hmm.
rather than breaking up and then going through that because you no longer have the same support system.
Right. Then you're on your own, or you've got your girlfriends, which is fine, but it's nice to have your partner that loves you. And
Yes, and somebody that's there, and not only
hmm
that, but it shows your partner that you have self-respect.
hmm
Like, this bothered you and you took, like, you did something. You
yeah,
stood up for yourself, advocated for yourself, rather than waiting till there was, you know, an end of a relationship.
right. And taking care of yourself, and then your confidence is going to be better because you
Yes,
feel good, and I'm sure as a partner, and your sex life and everything is going to be better because you feel good about yourself.
exactly, exactly. And not only that, but I think doing that for some marriages that seem like they're stifled or they're just sitting
Mhm.
in a space, sometimes what happens is when people don't attend to their own needs or their
Yeah.
own feelings of, you know, of just not liking parts of themselves, you will get into that. And that
hmm
actually can be the cause for a marriage to drift apart. You start feeling bad about yourself.
hmm
You don't do anything. You're kind of hoping your partner will lift you up or do something for you.
Right.
I encourage them to do it for themselves.
Yeah, because then, I'm sure there's some level of like resentment of, oh, well, you don't want me to do this, or, and I don't feel good about myself. And, oh, you look at those young girls.
Exactly. I hear this all the time. I mean, this is just this, I could make a whole video just about this topic that
hmm
they blame their partner for holding them back because
hmm
sometimes your partner doesn't feel comfortable saying, I know you struggled with this and I know
Right,
you don't like it. I love you no matter what, but if you want to do it, do it.
right.
that's a
They're,
that's a form of ultimate support because you
oh,
know that your partner is going to be there for you, helping you take care of something,
yeah.
rather than ending your marriage and then deciding, you know what, I'm going back out there looking, I'm going to look good.
I know.
Which I call okay, that's okay, but I'm saying if you're at that place where you're holding off and just getting resentful or
Right.
blaming your partner, then I would for sure really revisit that area.
Yeah, because I'm sure from the guy's perspective, how do you have that conversation? You're not going to be like, about that facelift, they're not going to do
Exactly.
that. They are smarter than that.
Yes. I mean, already they're in trouble for saying they didn't like when you ask them, how does this dress look? And they go,
Right.
if they tell you the truth, they're already probably you're mad at them. So how would they
Yeah.
ever even broach that?
Yeah,
So,
there's no good way to do that. So,
mhm.
yeah, they're not going to do it. But it's funny, like some of the words you said, I hear in consults, and they're wonderful, like these adorable couples, and they'll come in and she brings him in and he's like, well, you're beautiful the way you are, but if it makes you happy, do whatever
Right.
you want to do. But
Hmm.
and they're so cute, and they do amazing.
Yeah.
And sometimes they come in together, and she goes first and then he goes, because he has to make sure it's not too scary.
Hmm.
and then,
Yeah.
and then,
Yeah.
then he'll have his turn.
Yeah.
But it's so funny you say those words, because that's like exactly what some of them say. So.
Hmm. So when you see a couple like that, do you see that they do better after surgery?
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
Mm.
they do really well. Then, usually like the husband will come with her to the follow-ups and he always brings her and, is going over the instructions and like involved in the process and the patient just does so well. Like they heal it. I know it sounds crazy, but it seems like they heal better. They
Mhm.
definitely deal with all the different, bruising and swelling and look in the mirror and you look different for a
Mhm.
little bit until it gets better and deal with all of that so much better than if you don't have that person to talk to that's like, no, this is good, it's going to be good, you look in the mirror and you're like, what did I do? Oh my gosh,
That
I
would
did this
be
to
so,
myself.
yes, that would be because you did choose it for yourself.
Yeah,
So the support has to be almost stronger because you decided this.
right,
It's
right,
one thing to get it done to you if it was an accident or something.
right. Yeah, getting your appendix out, they're there for you, but it's not the same as like you chose anesthesia and surgery and we made this
Right.
decision. um, yeah, they definitely do so much better, and it's honestly fun whenever the couple's there and he's supportive and you get to know them both and
Hmm.
I enjoy
Yeah.
those patients a lot.
Yeah. I always think that the guy patient is a little bit harder to support after because it's almost like women are used to the pain and women we
Yeah.
somehow will get stronger if we know it's an improvement in how we
Hmm.
look.
Right.
And I
It's
just
worth
think
it.
for guys, it's more like they don't have that backing, so it's
No.
harder when they're going through it.
Yeah, I think because their worth in society isn't tied to their appearance as much,
Hmm.
and so it's not that much of a not as much of a motivation where you're like, no, but it's worth it.
Yeah,
you know, they're just like, I'm very
yeah.
inconvenienced right now.
Hmm. And if she is really upbeat and she just keeps reminding him, "Oh, you're gonna look
Yeah,
so fantastic," I
yeah,
think he for sure depends on her more
yes,
than she depends on him after
yeah.
surgery.
The best ones are the ones that she's like, you look so handsome. You look,
Oh,
oh, I just love you so much. And you're like, oh,
oh, that's
and
so,
then they're okay,
yep.
whatever it is, they're okay. Because
Hmm.
if she's okay with it, I'm okay with it,
Yep. Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I've always said that I think in a relationship, men men do rely more on the wife than the wife does the husband. In
Mm-hmm.
the sense of being emotional, it seems like
Yeah.
women have better or stronger networks besides him
Mm-hmm.
than males do besides her. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so I think if you have a man and you're watching this and your husband or your partner is going to go through plastic surgery, just remember that he's going to really depend on your support and just your reassurance that it's going to be because it doesn't seem right, it just the world makes it sound more like he'll be tough and
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't need that emotional support and reassurance, but it honestly it is the opposite.
Yeah. Mm, yeah. He needs it more than the woman
Hmm.
almost,
Yeah. And
to make
that's
sure
true
it's okay.
absolutely, that's true in relationships too, no
Yeah.
matter what the couple is going through. If the woman is strong or I don't want to use that word really, I want to use more if she is sure and
Yeah.
she is going to be committed to it, he
Mm-hmm.
does so much better. And
Yeah.
even if he is committed to it, she has more of a mind of her own and
Mm-hmm.
she's not as you just don't know what she will decide. Like him, it's pretty sure if she's reassuring,
Right.
it's going to be good. But
Right.
it doesn't necessarily go the opposite
Right. Yeah. Because, like you said, they depend on the
way.
woman for the
Yep.
emotional support.
Hmm. Yeah.
So. Such wise words. Thank you so
Oh,
much for chatting with me. Like I said, I always love our conversations.
I
So
know. I could just, I sometimes forget, hey, wait, we're on a clock. And we,
I'm getting the way.
I know. Sorry about that.
No, no, it was awesome. No, I really, really appreciate your time and all of your wisdom and sharing
Oh,
everything with
thank
us.
you.
That was really wonderful. So thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Dr. Sturm.
So let everybody know where they can find you.
Okay, you can just get a hold of me very easily if you just go to my name, Mary Jo Rapini, .com, and all kinds of stuff will come up for you. And I have a YouTube channel. You can get on from there too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for listening to Beauty Unveiled. I'm Dr. Angela Sturm, and you can find me at www.drangelasturm.com.